Steve Bannon doing a Nazi salute might be the single most depressing thing that happened at CPAC. That's the conservative, or a conference for American conservatives. But this was perhaps the most embarrassing. This is Argentinian President Javier Milei handing Musk a chainsaw. And Musk then shouts this.
The chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
Chainsaw! Milei is, of course, fresh from being embroiled in a crypto scam that we discussed on Wednesday's show. The chainsaw represents his attempt to gut the Argentinian state, a project now being pursued by Musk, if only in a very haphazard fashion. He keeps ending cancer trials and obviously HIV treatment for people in sub-Saharan Africa. We've already talked about that. Musk also mentioned the other Trumpian obsession, the right to tell offensive jokes.
You know, and have like a sense of humor, you know? So, I mean, the sort of the left wanted to make comedy illegal, you know? Yeah. Like, you can't make fun of anything. So there was like, comedy sucks. It's like, nothing's funny. You can't make fun of anything. It's like, legalize comedy. Yeah. Legalize comedy.
And we've shifted the entire culture. That was something.
I am become meme. Yeah, pretty much.
Whenever we show you a clip of Donald Trump, it's very difficult not to laugh. You know, however serious the story, like the way he expresses it is genuinely funny. Elon Musk is like a vacuum that sucks in humor. Like it's gross, really horrible, really dull, really embarrassing, I suppose. Also, lots of people commenting on the fact that he's got these really dark glasses. Elsewhere in the interview, he was really struggling to speak, and he is known to be, you know, a drug user. So is he sort of taking an axe to America's, entire state funding system while on ketamine or something like that? You should be probably fairly worried if you're an American right now. Another dark element of this, while Musk was waving a chainsaw and trying to be funny, and failing, I think, the mother of 3 of his children was tweeting this. So Grimes, pop star, who was married to Elon Musk for a while, please respond about our child's medical crisis. I am so sorry to do this publicly, but it is no longer acceptable to ignore this situation. This requires immediate attention. If you don't want to talk to me, can you please designate or hire someone who can so that we can move forward on solving this? This is urgent, Elon. She goes on, I'm not giving any details, but he won't respond to texts, calls, or emails and has skipped every meeting, and our child will suffer lifelong impairment if he doesn't respond ASAP. So I need him to effing respond, and if I have to apply public pressure, then I guess that's where we are at. Aaron, I mean, what can you say to that? And this is a guy who always talks about family. I mean, he's a massive pronatalist, isn't he? He wants everyone to have loads of children. And then this is how he apparently fathers his child.
Well, there is something of a pattern here, isn't there? That pronatalists on the right tend not to actually be necessarily the best parents. Although I suppose, is Boris Johnson pronatalist? I don't think so. I think he just had 7 or 8 or 9 kids because he likes having sex, actually, let's be honest. Elon Musk has, 13 now, apparently? I mean, Michael, people talk about the demographic decline of the West. These guys are giving it a damn good shot. 13 with Elon Musk, 7 or 8 or 9 with Boris Johnson, I think 4 with Farage, 7 with Mog? I've only got 1 kid. How are we going to keep up, Michael? We've got no chance. On a serious note, it is pretty bad. It's pretty extraordinary for somebody who is worth more than $350 billion to have a mother of their child publishing this stuff online. I mean, it's actually humiliating. If that was, I mean, it's a stupid thing to say. If I was the richest person in the world, but if you were, you'd imagine one of your parents or a sibling, somebody would say, "Look, this is really embarrassing. This is quite shameful. Actually, you should probably get on top of this. It looks really bad." Personally, I think there are a few things more shameful than being a neglectful parent. Personally, nobody made you have the kids, all right? So you probably should look after them. And of course, lots of relationships don't work out. Parents go different ways, but you need to do your best and get on for the sake of the kids. I say that as somebody whose parents didn't live together. So they weren't best friends most of the time. So it's pretty revolting, actually. Your point as well about the comedy is really interesting. I mean, we have so many clips of Trump played on this show, and almost always we're laughing because, okay, he is a very serious political figure, and many things he thinks, says, and does have major political implications. some of which are bad, some of which impact us here in the UK. But he's quite funny. It's quite captivating. That just doesn't apply with Musk. I mean, he's a complete moron. And I know that you and I disagree with quite a few people on the left because we don't think he's stupid. I think he's quite intelligent. But like anybody, Michael, who's successful and wealthy, I think he's also gotten quite lucky. That's true with anybody. That's not a criticism of him. I think to get to that level of politics or business or anything, you have to be a little bit lucky. And I think he's had that. But I think clearly he thinks he's ascended to some new level of human. The idea that you're taking a hacksaw to US government spending, trying to remove $2 trillion of spending whilst taking drugs and barely sleeping, sounds outlandish to me, but it's also quite a fitting way for US empire to end. And by the way, that is what we're seeing. We are seeing the end of US empire. The strange thing is it's being done by design. You had Marco Rubio, little Marco, as Secretary of State, Trump's Secretary of State, openly talking about multipolarity. US policy since 1945 has been unipolarity. That was the point of the Cold War. They're now talking about multipolarity quite openly. Just such a weird time, Michael. Multipolarity, and a dude that wrote a book which was adapted into a Netflix film talking to European politicians at Munich. And meanwhile, the world's wealthiest person is taking drugs, it seems, and trying to cut US government spending by $2 trillion. It does all feel like evidence that suggests we live in a simulation, Michael. It's more outlandish than one could possibly conceive in fiction. Although I think Pirandello, an Italian novelist, said precisely that. He said, facts are often or almost always more outlandish than fiction.
Yeah, I should caveat this by saying I don't know more details than reading these tweets, but from my interpretation of these tweets on the face of it, Aaron, it was kind of worse than him just being neglectful of the children, because I interpreted this as him kind of almost holding them hostage. I should be clearer. My interpretation of this was that Grimes, the children's mother, was not with the child. The child was in the care of Elon Musk at that time, and Grimes was worried that this child needed something and she couldn't access the child. So it seemed to me worse than just, obviously, neglect and sort of abandonment is bad, but this seemed almost more proactive than that, because it seemed like he'd kind of taken custody of the child and then wasn't doing what was needed to stop them getting a lifelong impairment.